This is a Mama Grizzly Radio special presentation. Sarah Palin versus the New York Times. Here's Kevin Scholla.
And a pleasant good day once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kevin Scholla on Mama Grizzly Radio, and this is the latest installment of Sarah Palin versus the New York Times. Head right here for the real information, no fake news, just the facts. And the very latest as Governor Palin courageously goes after the corrupt and failing New York Times. You can join us here every day on Mama Grizzly Radio. Visit mamagrizzlyradio.com and also sarahpalin.com. Also follow along on Twitter at Mama Grizz Radio, at Sarah Palin USA, and at Kevin Scholla. On Facebook at Mama Grizzly Radio, Sarah Palin, and Kevin Scholla USA. On Instagram at Mama Grizzly Radio, Sarah Palin 97 and Kevin Scholla USA. And on Parler at Kevin Scholla 45. Well, day 2 of Sarah Palin versus the New York Times on Friday. And yes, we live in a world of O.J. and Casey Anthony and John Roberts, so you never know when it comes to the justice system. But if you look at what was laid out on Friday, you have to have hope for Governor Palin's case here. Some clear evidence against the New York Times came to light. Elizabeth Williamson, the author of the editorial at the center of this defamation lawsuit, testified about how the editorial was put together. Palin suing over the 2017 piece America's Lethal Politics, which was published after a shooting at a Republican congressional baseball practice, the one that injured Congressman Steve Scalise. Now, in the hit piece, the Times attempts to tie Sarah Palin and her PAC to the 2011 shooting of Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. Here's exactly what was written. Quote, "The link to political incitement was clear. Before the shooting, Sarah Palin's Political Action Committee circulated a map of targeted electoral districts that put Ms. Giffords and 19 other Democrats under stylized crosshairs," unquote. The newspaper did put out a so-called correction later. Too little, too late. Just ask Duke Lacrosse or those New York Mets players back in 1991 how effective apologies are after you've been, well, destroyed, basically, in print for all to see. Now, on Friday, Governor Palin's lawyers called Williamson to testify, and Williamson testified that she received an email from former New York Times opinion editor James Bennett, pushing her in one direction. She claims once she turned the piece in, Bennett changed a lot of it and added the lies about Palin. She says in court, quote, "In retrospect, I wish I had because maybe we could have caught something before." Williamson was questioned for hours. She said she pitched an editorial on gun policy, but Bennett wanted more about rhetoric. Bennett, who's scheduled to be on the stand in the coming days, allegedly told Williamson, in her words, to see if, quote, "there's a point to make about the rhetoric of demonization and whether it incites people." The first draft of the editorial featured a link to an ABC News article stating there were ties between the PAC map and the Giffords shooting. Palin's team showed that the Times was selective at best when it comes to rage over things. They were just completely beside themselves over the Sarah PAC map. But attorneys asked Williamson if she did a piece on the Shakespeare in the Park performance in which the murdered Julius Caesar looked a heck of a lot like President Trump. She, of course, did not. They also asked if she was outraged by and if she'd written a piece about Kathy Griffin when she tweeted a photo of her holding a bloodied head that was clearly meant to be Trump's head. And, of course, she did not write about that either. Only Palin was targeted. In one email, Bennett told Williamson, quote, "I really reworked this one. I hope you can see what I was trying to do. Please take a look. Thank you for the hard work today, and I'm sorry to do such a heavy edit." Williamson wrote back, quote, "No worries. The lead does a much better job of conveying how incredibly awful this was." Another editor emailed Williamson calling the hit piece superb and perfectly tuned. That same editor later wrote to Williamson that the, quote, "gun rights brigade is having a seizure," unquote. This over the Palin lies, of course. Now, after being called out for their fake news, the Times printed 2 so-called corrections. In court, Williamson went on about Bennett's handiwork, stating, quote, "I did not read it thoroughly. In retrospect, I wish I had, because maybe we could have caught something before." District Court Judge Jed Rakoff asked Williamson for her interpretation of the word incite. Williamson suggested Bennett had meant inspire instead, and that led to the judge pulling out a dictionary in court. Quote, the judge said, "It defines incite as to arouse to action, spur, or urge on." The judge then read some synonyms for incite. Judge Rakoff asked Williamson if that definition was recognizable to her, and she said, quote, "I think so." Dictionaries, Kathy Griffin, Trump, what's next? Probably testimony from Bennett and maybe the Mama Grizzly herself. Buckle up, folks. Stay here with Mama Grizzly Radio for continuous updates on Sarah Palin versus the New York Times. For Tamara Colbert, the Andy L. Kramer, Lorianne Lewis, Tanya Crow, and everyone at Mama Grizzly Radio, I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.
This has been a Mama Grizzly Radio special presentation. Visit mamagrizzlyradio.com for the latest on Governor Sarah Palin.